Charlie, I want to start with you. You've been in the courthouse in the Rittenhouse case. You've heard from both sides of the prosecution and the defense. What are the main points that each side is making? And I wonder how those arguments have been landing in court.
Good evening. Well, one of the unique things about this case is that it was pretty much all on video. So that was one of the things that the defense even laid out in the beginning, that really wasn't a case of who done it. We know who did it. Kyle Rittenhouse, when he took the stand himself, testified to shooting three people and killing two of them. And his own lawyers walked him through the case and, very slowly presented evidence piece by piece with video showing why he shot. And he really took the jury through, Kyle rather, took the jury through, each instance, what was going through his head. And this really was the first time, that we did hear from Kyle in his own words, what he was thinking. And obviously the mantra or the refrain that kept coming up was that he feared for his life. In each instance, his defense team put up pieces of video that matched what Kyle was saying, that, in their mind was backing up his claims of self-defense. On the other side, the prosecution is making it out, trying to have the jury see that Kyle was there to cause trouble, that the only reason that he was in Kenosha, Wisconsin that night was to create issues, that he went there with an AR-15, not to protect property or as a medic, as he testified that he was there for, but it was to cause issues. And that with him carrying an AR-15 and in some cases pointing at people, he put other people's lives at risk and other people in danger, not the other way around. So that's really what both sides tried hammering home this week.
And the governor there in Wisconsin has also mobilized some 500 National Guards troops. Talk a bit about the atmosphere in Wisconsin. Now, those National Guard troops are supposed to be on standby for next week during closing arguments, possibly when the jury will be deliberating. Talk a bit about sort of how things are going there.
So far outside, you've seen people, I'd say supporters for both sides, if you will, people who are there for Kyle Rittenhouse and people who want to see Kyle Rittenhouse get convicted in this case. We've also seen Justin Blake, the uncle of Jacob Blake, who really was the catalyst of all this. He was, shot by a Kenosha police officer 7 times at close range. He's paralyzed, but it has been calm. There have been, small gatherings, but nothing really that we, close to what we saw in the summer of 2020. The governor stated that he deployed about 500 National Guards members, and it really is as a precaution so that if things do escalate there, there is a response in place because I know a number of people from, reporting on people, businesses, people who live in Kenosha, the police really were outnumbered. They weren't able to respond when things did go south there. The fire department, they weren't able to respond to fires. So this really is, I think, also a way of assuring the public that there is a plan in place and it's not just going to be a reaction if things do escalate once the verdict comes next week.
Yeah, just as a precaution, you say. I also want to talk about on Wednesday, Circuit Court Judge Bruce Schroeder sent the jury out of the courtroom and lectured the prosecution for questioning Rittenhouse about an incident that the judge chose not to admit as evidence.
I thought, this is my good faith explanation to you, and if you want to yell at me, you can. My good faith feeling this morning after watching that testimony was you had left the door open a little bit, now we had something new, and I was going to probe it.
I don't believe you. When you say that you were acting in good faith, I don't believe that, okay?
Now, this judge is currently the longest-serving circuit court judge in Wisconsin. Charlie, I want one more question to you. What's the sense that the judge may be playing for the public? Because, of course, he's an elected official. There were voters that saw this, but, of course, not the jury. But also, I'm sure maybe some experts are also pointing out that maybe this is the way that some judges act normally. What's your sense of things?
Well, the clip you showed right there was one of at least 2 instances where Judge Schroeder, told the jury to leave and really reprimanded Assistant District Attorney Thomas Binger there. That time it was for going into a line of questioning that they had already ruled before the trial started that he couldn't get into. And legal experts that I spoke with, talked about that strategy and the defense even brought this up in the case when the jury wasn't in the courtroom, that that the prosecution may be seeing that the case isn't going in their favor, in their direction, that this may have been a strategy to, a kamikaze mission, or try and get a redo to have the judge call a mistrial in this case. Again, there has not been a mistrial declared, but that's definitely one strategy that legal experts have pointed to, because you heard the judge saying, I don't believe you that this was an honest mistake. And then the second time, Binger, he brought up when he was questioning Kyle Rittenhouse on the stand, his right to plead the fifth, to not speak after being charged. And that was the first time where the judge really laid into Assistant District Attorney Binger.
Yeah, I mean, these were definitely fireworks, Rachel. When you think about just sort of all of us, even in D.C., watching this case, former President Trump has tweeted sort of his support for Kyle Rittenhouse, or maybe rather expressed his support for Kyle Rittenhouse. I wonder what you just make of the politicization of this case, how it's being seen. No matter the outcome, it's going to be a big case that I think a lot of people in this country are going to be watching.
Yeah, and the country is watching these two trials play out side by side, and two trials that significantly relied on video, watching these play out. I think the former president is going to have a very different response than the current president. But I think a lot of this will central back to what policies are in place and what the Biden administration is also pushing forward. And I think with both of these cases, you have some people who would say there needs to be more when it comes to gun control in this country, and there needs to be more when it comes to criminal justice reform and police reform in this country as well. And I think those two will harken back, especially with questions for the Biden administration.
Yeah.